Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Ndali Sedam Mshelelo, and today I've got a lot of juice. I've got a lot of speaking points. I don't even know where to start, guys. So many speaking points. So over the weekend, I listened to an Al Jazeera interview where Gengop was being interviewed. I think he was in Qatar. We'll also discuss the reasons why he went to Qatar and just to enlighten you. Now, Namibia recently discovered oil. And when we're speaking about oil, we're speaking about thousands and thousands. In fact, the oil that we have discovered amounts to a couple of billions per barrel. Now, it's no secret that Namibia is one of the few countries that is mineral rich, meaning that we're rich in natural resources. We're blessed to have an ocean that covers almost our entire coastal line. And as a result of that, we've got a lot of marine resources. Our marine resources, give or take, it's valued a couple of billions, if not more. And then we obviously have a lot of natural resources such as copper, gold, diamonds, we've got zinc. We literally have plenty of natural resources. Now, Namibia has a population of about 2-point-something million people. 2-point-something. That's the amount of people that we have in this country. Now, we also have one of the biggest countries in the world. Like, our country is very big. Google the size of Rwanda. Rwanda has a population of 10 million people. But Rwanda is almost the size of Caprivi. If Caprivi is not bigger than Rwanda. But you should see how that country is progressing. It's progressing very well because they have a progressive leader. Now, the reason why I'm starting to speak out firstly about our natural resources. Now, it doesn't help a country has an abundance of natural resources when the country itself does not have direct ownership of those resources. Now, this is the problem in Namibia. Namibians, and in particular the Namibian government, doesn't have control and ownership of its natural resources. The reason why countries such as Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Venezuela, these countries, the reason why they're doing so well is simply because these countries are in charge of their country's natural resources. And that's why they're able to give their citizens a better life. Here in Namibia, on the other hand, unfortunately, we have no control of our natural resources. And as a result of us not having control of those natural resources, we are unable to adequately redistribute wealth amongst our people. Because most of the mines are unfortunately foreign owned. Now, point number 2. The big problem that we do in this country is that we borrow money not for production, but merely for consumption. Now, this is very dangerous. When a country only borrows money for consuming and not for production, this is part of the reason why we have limited ownership in our country's natural resources. So what we do as a country, we literally say, no, we've got gold, we've got all of these things, we've got copper. However, we don't have the money, and that's why the president is always taking trips abroad so that he can go and beg investors to come and invest money in our country. Now, this is again another typical example that I'm going to give. Husab mine cost 20 billion Namibian dollars in order for them to set up that mine. Husab mine on an annual basis brings revenues of about 10 billion Namibian dollars. Now, it's not rocket science. The government could have literally taken 20 billion, borrowed it, and then build Husab mine, and then have it 100% controlled by the Namibian government. And each year they could have been making 10 billion Namibian dollars in revenue. But they did not do that. I once again said we could have taken ownership of B2 Gold Mine. B2 Gold Mine, I think give or take, they make about 33 billion Namibian dollars in revenue. 33 billion Namibian dollars in revenue. The cost of setting up B2 Gold Mine was just a mere 3 billion Namibian dollars. That was the cost of setting up B2 Gold Mine. However, because we are being led by people who don't think, we went and built a dam in the south at a cost of about 5 billion Namibian dollars. We went and recently built an oil storage facility that costed us almost about 6 billion Namibian dollars. Now, the government always says that we do not have money. If government had taken that 6 billion Namibian dollars and they went into our ocean and they started looking for oil, we would have discovered oil, and that oil would have been 100% owned by Namibians. Now, similar is the same case of the oil that we have found in Okavango. Had government taken money, now you imagine you are building an oil storage facility, but you yourself do not produce oil. That is what you call stupidity. It's like you're building a storage to store food, but you know that you do not produce food. How do you build a storage to store food, knowing very well that you do not produce food? You first start producing food, and then from the food, you then build a food storage. So what the Namibian government should have done was go, and because these guys already know the areas where there's potentially oil, government should have just taken the money and then started drilling for oil. We find the oil, and then by now, when we're celebrating the found of oil, we know very well that the oil is Namibian owned, meaning that it's owned by the state. The state simply means the people of the Republic of Namibia. However, because we are led by people who are not so intelligent, they don't think, they've got no vision, theirs is just to put money into their pockets. That's about the only thing that they care. Now, these recent oil discoveries, what they mean is that they mean nothing to us as ordinary Namibians. We're not going to benefit anything from this oil. And when I mean we're not going to benefit anything, I mean absolutely nothing. Most of the jobs that are going to be on those oil, they are going to be foreign-owned people. Because guess what? Unfortunately, in this country, many youth are not trained in oil rigging. They have no idea how to handle petrochemicals. So many of us won't be able to get jobs because unfortunately these jobs require skills, and skills that many of us do not have. So this is what's going to happen. Foreigners are already the ones working on this current oil rigs. So that simply means that you as a Namibian hoping to get a job, you're not going to find a job because you don't have the relevant skills to find this job. So already you're not going to benefit from the jobs that is going to be created by this oil rush. Second of all, you as an individual in this country, there is no direct benefit for you because this oil, unfortunately, is foreign-owned oil. It doesn't belong to you. Now, this is what we can do. With the discovery now of the oil, government should now put money aside to start building what is called oil refineries. Now, oil refineries, this is now me thinking for the government because these guys can't think. I'm thinking for you now. Please, you are welcome to steal my ideas because you unfortunately do not have the thinking capacity. Here is the idea. Now that we have oil, go and borrow money. Yes, go and borrow money because we do not have money. But borrow the money so that you can build oil refineries. Then what we start doing is when the oil comes from the ground, you must already go now to parliament, change the laws regarding oil and whatsoever, so that when these guys take out the oil from the ground, we first refine it here in Namibia with our own refineries. Once the oil is refined, that's then the only time the owners of this oil, because we're not the owners of the oil, as the president has said, the owners of the oil can then take this oil that we have refined and then they can sell it to whoever they want to sell it. But before refining it, it cannot be sold. This way, we can then immensely benefit from refining oil in this country. And this is exactly how this country can become wealthy from this oil that we have recently discovered. The oil should not leave Namibia under no circumstances before it has been refined in this country. Now, I listened to the president and he was asked a lot of critical questions. He was asked about the land question. It's facts that 90% or 70% of the land is still in the hands of white people. Then the president was asked, why is it still the case? The president then stated that this is simply because of the Constitution. Apparently, when we were negotiating for independence, in the Constitution, we had already put out rules to say that land becomes property, and under the Constitution, property is protected. Now, guys, let me tell you this. When Hage became president, these guys changed the Constitution several times, but they only changed it to benefit themselves. The first change was the creation of an office of the vice president. The second changes included changing the number of seats that you can have in parliament. Remember, at first we only used to have 72 seats in parliament. And then because the politicians became greedy, they wanted more seats, they then changed it to, I think, 108. Now, this is what you guys do not understand. This change literally meant that we ballooned the National Assembly, meaning that taxpayers now need to fork out more money to pay for a bunch of idiots who are just seated in parliament. And guess what? These idiots that are seated in parliament, half of them are sleeping because many of them are 70 years old. These people are literally pensioners. We have pensioners who are seated in parliament. And that's why they sleep half the time, because they are not young anymore. And that's why many of them, you find a minister tabling a motion that we must ban Hubly Bubbly. Imagine a minister coming to parliament and saying Hubly Bubbly must be banned because apparently it destroys the community. While it is a known fact that tobacco from cigarettes causes cancer, damages your health, but for some reason we never called for the banning of cigarettes. Is that not hypocrisy? That is what you call hypocrisy and stupidity from a parliamentarian who goes to parliament and tables an issue that Hubly Bubbly must be banned from public. While these same parliamentarians, none has ever dared and gone to parliament and actually table for us to change the law so that the people who do not have land, and when we speak about land, guys, I'm not speaking about that space that's earmarked for your graveyard. No, I'm speaking about just a piece of plot where you can just put up your house. Some of us have an interest in agriculture, but because we don't have edible agricultural land, we unfortunately cannot go into farming. Now, the Constitution can be changed because it's just a piece of paper. It can be altered, it can be changed. But what the politicians and what the president have proven to us is that it can only be changed when it is benefiting the political elite. However, the Constitution can never be changed to benefit the masses. That is why in a few years from now, I want to run so that I can maybe become the president of this country, or I go to parliament so that we can change the law. Guys, once I come into power, we'll be pushing things like nationalization. Nationalization simply means that if the resources are in the ground, they don't belong to one individual, but they belong to all Namibians. That's what nationalization means. Now, these current leaders are never going to push the agenda of nationalizing our natural resources because they are being paid by these foreign-owned companies. They are paying them. Now, to touch on the reason why Hage recently went to Qatar. Now, this oil that recently got discovered, most of it is owned by a company called Qatar Energy, or the shares. Most of it are owned by Qatar Energy. Now, because you Namibians, you like to complain when the president receives visitors. In my thinking and in my conspiracy theory, Hage then went to Qatar so that he can go meet these Qatar leaders, so that, you know, Mos is a deal maker. And we all know Hage likes to fix deals. If you think I'm insinuating, he can come sue me, because we all know he was a consultant for an energy company called Areva, which was mining uranium in our country. He was a deal maker there. We all know he's a partner to a guy, a Chinese, who's currently implicated of 3.5 billion tax fraud, Jack Wang, his personal friend. And we all know the president has always liked the idea of making deals. He's always been a consultant. So we're not quite sure what it is he went to go do in Qatar. But I can guarantee you right now, he most probably got a handsome handshake. Like, thank you very much. They are called golden handshakes. That is what he went to go get in Qatar. And then the reason why he's saying that Namibians are not going to benefit from this oil is because this oil has already been sold to its rightful owners. Now, what we have in this country, we don't have leaders. We have sellouts. We have people who will literally sell out this country to the highest bidders, and they don't care, because imagine, I'm 80 years old. What should I really care about? Anytime from now, I'm headed to the grave. So the only thing I should be caring about is securing a future only for my children. And this is what these politicians are doing. They are simply just securing a future for their children. As for the rest of us, unfortunately, we're going to suffer heavily. Now, in the interview, the Hage goes on to say that we have invested heavily in education. Now, guys, these are the facts. The government has not invested heavily in education. All they've invested in is paying salaries of teachers. When you guys read that budget of 13 billion that's going to education, 90%, if not 95% of it is going to pay salaries. That simply means that there is not enough money being put aside to build schools. That's why children are taught under tents. That's why children have to share, one classroom literally has to share one textbook because there are no textbooks in school. Children have to sit on the floors because there are no chairs. Children have to literally study on the floor and write on the floor because there are no desks. These are the facts. But government every day claims that they are investing heavily in education. If you are investing heavily in education, why are our schools dilapidated? Why is it that a child who's doing science can't do an experiment? They can't do an experiment because unfortunately the chemicals or the equipment that is needed to do that experiment is not there. A child studying science in Ohangwena does not know that when you put a flame to hydrogen, it makes a popping sound, because they've never done this experiment so that they can actually see that when you put a flame to hydrogen, it makes a popping sound. So the government should stop lying that it has invested heavily in education. And then the man goes on further to say that we've already educated you. Why are you not using your education to create your own jobs? Now, let's just get things right, guys. If I studied agriculture and I graduate as an agricultural student, but I do not get a piece of land and some equipment, seeds and fertilizers in order for me to start farming, my agricultural education means nothing to me. So this is what should have been happening. When children or when people graduate from universities or wherever, there should have been a ministry like the Ministry of Trade and Industry that then takes these graduates and say, you graduated in what? No, I graduated in logistics. Okay, here is money. Go buy a truck, even if it's like a small truck, and then go start doing logistics. Barakat. There you have empowered these young people. They are now doing logistics. You, what have you studied? We have studied banking and finance. Okay, here is money. Go and start with a cash loan, and from the cash loan, grow until you are able to have your own bank. Now, it doesn't help people are graduating, but there is no capital for young people to start businesses. The SME bank, we all know what they did to it. They ate it up. They ate the SME bank's money up. And guess who was benefiting from this SME bank? It wasn't even small, medium enterprises. Woermann Brocks, it was politicians. It was just again the politically connected that were benefiting from this bank that was created. Now, what I saw from that interview, I saw an old man who lacks intelligence, both in thinking and emotional. The man was literally becoming angry towards the interviewer. He was there saying things like, hey, Spera, no, listen. I was like, this is your president becoming angry on a platform where literally the whole world is seeing that we are being led by someone who is incompetent, who is incapable, who lacks intelligence. And I swear to you, this is why it's important that when people become 60, they retire, they should retire and go to their farms. Because now we have old people who have become children in their minds. Remember, the older you become, you just become a child again. So we now have a child that is in State House that we call a president. Our grandmothers, they are there in the villages. But these grandfathers and grandmothers that we currently have, they apparently want to rule the country. Rule the country for what? And you guys don't understand why this country is going into the grave. It's because we have allowed old people to rule this country. And this is partly the fault of young people. Young people who always say that, no, I'm not interested in politics. I have no interest in politics. Politics, nya, nya, nya. Well, this is a result of politics. The reason why those guys are called politicians is because of politics. Now, the moment you stay away from politics, then you allow politicians to do whatever they want with this country. And this is why I always try and urge young people to take an interest in politics. Because if you don't take an interest in politics, that's how you will have your Opa and Oma running your country, apparently taking you to the future, while you, who's a young person, you don't have a job, you are graduating into a jobless economy. And the worst part is, many of you are going to university, but there is no money to fund your university career. I know of a lot of young people who inbox me on a daily basis. These young people are crying to say, please assist me with registration money. Please, I just need an extra 10,000 so that I can finish my modules and pay for my whatever so I can write exams. So the government is not funding the education system. Because if government was funding education system, why is it that you still have to pay registration fee at UNAM, Polytech, NAST, or wherever it is that you are attending school? Why is it that your parents still have to go fork out money to pay for your studies? It's because the government is not funding the universities and schools the same way you guys are saying that it's being funded. Guys, open your eyes. And when I say eyes, I'm not speaking about those things that can see. I'm speaking about your minds, so that you can realize and understand what is actually going on in this country. Now, I'm hated most of the time because I speak the truth. I open people's minds. And the government wants you to remain stupid and focus on stupid things such as alcohol, drugs, and all these things. The government is very happy. And in fact, I believe that it is the government that facilitates the bringing in of drugs into this country so that the youth can just be Malala pipes, just there smoking pipes, injecting themselves, so that you guys don't even focus on what's really happening in this country. I'm saddened because over 1.2 million Namibians don't have jobs. Half of this country, if not more than half, lives in abject poverty. 500,000 Namibians live in informal settlements. But we are a country that is rich in natural resources. The only problem is that we have leaders who are heartless, who are cruel, who are harsh. Guys, I need even better words, because these words that I'm using to describe these leaders, I think these are nice words. How do you build a building that's costing 800 million Namibian dollars opposite a hospital that was built during apartheid? And you honestly say these people care about you? You guys are either stupid or you are just really, really stupid to believe that someone who is capable of building a building of that magnitude and that size really loves you. The priority of any political party is to ensure that it creates not only a better environment, but it creates a better life for its citizens. Now, if you guys think, what was those words that guy used? the meaning of SWAPO. Now, if you guys think SWAPO, which actually stands for Satan was a police officer, is going to come and save you guys, then you guys must think again. Satan was a police officer. And this guys, the current party called SWAPO is acting like Satan. Because how do you allow your people to die from things such as hunger? How do you allow your people to die from things such as curable diseases? Go now to the hospitals. Old people are complaining there are no tablets for diabetes. There are no tablets for high blood pressure. Our old people are currently dying because when they go to the hospitals, there is no medicine. There is no medicine in the hospitals. But here you have a party that's currently in charge of the government affairs, building a building to a tune of 800 million Namibian dollars. While the hospital next door is falling apart, there is no medicine, there is no equipment, there is no bandages, there is even toilet paper. There is no toilet paper in Katutura Hospital. That's how sad things have become in this country. But because many of us do not want to pay attention to politics and do what is right, this is why this country is going to remain a shitty-ass country. And it's going to get worse. And I mean really, really worse. That is all that I wanted to say before I lose the topic of discussion that we had to discuss today. Unfortunately, just a reminder, like the president said, like Hage said, don't get excited. The oil is not ours, and it's truly not ours. Because Namibia is one of the richest mineral countries in the world. But we have the highest inequalities in the world, highest unemployments in the world. But we only have a population of 2.5 million people. Think again and think very smart and see if the people who are currently in power really care about you. I was said the other day, this country is so poor that people were begging money from foreign-owned companies just so that we can send money to kids in Ukraine to pay for their accommodations and their flight tickets. The government doesn't have money. There's no budget. Nada. Now we have to beg foreigners. But this is what we have allowed. This is what we have allowed the country to come to. So thank you for tuning in. All I ask is that you can do your part by sharing this video. Because the more people can watch this video, the more minds that we can open. And the more people can realize that we are in a country where we are being led by a bunch of fools. Guys, go and look up the dictionary definition of what a fool is. Let me quickly try and see if I can Google what is a fool. Now, the meaning of a fool, and I always like to call our politicians fools, a person who acts unwisely or imprudently. That's what these guys are. They are acting unwisely. How do you build an oil refinery as opposed to investing in Namcor so that Namcor can discover oil so that you can own the oil? Instead, you build a refinery so that you can store oil that you still have to buy from Europe or from wherever it is that we buy our oil from. That is what you call a bunch of fools. Idiot, I think, it hurts their feelings. So I'll just call them fools for now. But that's pretty much what they are. So please, let us stop supporting these fools. Let us stop empowering these fools, because these fools have no idea that they are destroying this country. Our children are growing up, and the worst part is that they are going to inherit a country that is so shitty because their parents were cowards and did nothing. Many of us are cowards. Many of us won't speak out on this current government because you are scared that you might lose your job. Because unfortunately, in this country, it's not about what you know, it's who you know. We have a lot of brilliant young people who've got brilliant ideas, but these young people can't find funding because unfortunately, their fathers are not Gengop, Pohamba, or Nuyomas. So as a result, many of these young people don't know what to do with their lives because they've got brilliant ideas but can't access funding. And just simply because we support fools on a day-to-day basis. And we defend them with our lives. We defend them. Guys, how do you defend the undefendable? These guys are building a multi-million dollar, if not billion-dollar headquarters. But you still find idiots who find it in their hearts to support this cruelty. While schools don't have books, kids are being taught under trees. They are being taught in tents. Just simply because we have allowed fools to run this country. These guys have no idea what's going on. They are a bunch of buffoons. They are a bunch of they are jokers, guys. This country has become a joke. There's a reason why Namibia is called the Banana Republic. It's because we have allowed fools to rule this country. Fools are ruling this country. So please, share this video. Let's make this video go viral so that we can awaken the people, so people start having an understanding, so that people start realizing that we need to do something to change these things. And what we just need is people who can just think a bit, people who are willing to implement, people who are not scared to take on whoever needs to be taken on to ensure that an ordinary Namibian lives a better life. Thank you for listening, and all I ask is that we share this video so that as many people can view it. Thank you very much.